Welcome, ladies and gents, to the most must-heard podcast in wrestling history. It is the PWC. I brought my friends along with me. It is another major players conversation. You know how these all work. They get rowdy, they get excited, but it's all part of the fun. Tonight, we're talking all about SummerSlam 2021. We're going to get the guys' thoughts on all the matches. We're going to get predictions and, of course, our prediction game. Let's not forget that. We will take that into consideration as well. But let me introduce the major players for this one. We've got the CEO, Mr. Nashville.
Yeah, man.
Here we go. We then have, I'm going to call him straight up, the Prediction King, since he's the leader of the game, Mr. Jeremy. Ooh. And then we've got a newcomer coming into the major players. It is Mr. Kyle. I'm pretty sure you guys have checked out his one-on-one video with Nashville. If you haven't, go find it on our page. What's up, Kyle?
Hello, everyone, and to the 4 viewers who are watching. This is going to be a good one.
Hey, listen, our last video hit like almost 100 views, so we're good. We're good. We're getting there. So, we're talking about SummerSlam, and before we get into all the chatting, the predictions, all of that stuff, let me just run through the card of SummerSlam, which was taking place on Saturday. For those that don't know, which is a nice break for us in South Africa. It means we don't have to wake up Monday morning at 3 o'clock to watch it live. We can watch it on a Sunday, which is lovely. But yeah, our card for SummerSlam, we've got the highly anticipated Drew McIntyre versus Jinder Mahal. We also then have the United States Championship on the line. Sheamus taking on Damian Priest. We have then the Raw Tag Team titles. It is RK Bro taking on the team of AJ and Omos. We have the SmackDown Tag Team titles. It is the Mysterios taking on the Usos, aka the Bloodline. Not really sure what tag team they go by nowadays, but that's cool. We then also have Edge taking on Seth frickin' Rollins, which is a match I'm really excited about. I won't lie. We then move into the SmackDown Women's Championship. It is Sasha Banks taking on the champion Bianca Ballet. We also then have the Women's Raw Tag Team Women's Raw Women's title. There we go. It's so bad I even messed it up. Yeah. Nikki Ash, the champion, takes on Rhea Ripley and Charlotte Flair. And then the two main events. I know the one Jeremy is super excited for, and that's Goldberg taking on Bobby Lashley for the WWE title. And the Universal Championship match, of course, it is the Tribal Chief himself against the C Nation leader, John Cena. That's the card.
Cap that way.
Hey?
Yeah?
That's why Kyle is wearing his cap that way.
You know it.
Of course.
I've got a doctorate or master's in thugonomics. I'm trying to get to that point. On his level.
Nice.
All right. So while we're on this, Carl, I'm going to bring you into this one. What are your initial thoughts on hearing the card for SummerSlam? Which matches are you excited for? Which ones can you throw to the dust and just what are you excited for on SummerSlam? What are you hoping to get out of this pay-per-view?
You can't ask me 5 questions in one question, Vas. So I'm gonna go back to the first thing.
It's one question. What do you expect out of SummerSlam?
You just ran through this card, and the one thing that popped into my mind the second you said the main event is, where the hell is Alexa Bliss and why is she not on this card?
She is.
Because nobody see Alexa Bliss versus Dewdrop. I promise you that.
Actually, man,
no one.
She's on the card.
I have a theory on that match that you guys are gonna love, but we'll get to that. If you love the one about Money in the Bank, you guys are gonna love this one.
It involves.
I'm keen to hear that. But Vas, to get back to your question, I like the card. I think there's some really interesting storytelling. I also think that this is the first chapter in many chapters for a lot of the narrative that they're going to tell on the road to WrestleMania. I'm excited that John's back. That's the one thing I want to see. 17, 1, 2, 3 is what I'm going to be looking for on Sunday.
All right, I'm glad you brought that up because I want to talk about the promos that we've been getting from Roman Reigns and John Cena. Because I was actually watching one of those other YouTube channels, their little documentaries and stuff that they have, and so like that. And all of them were saying that Roman Reigns has been feeling a bit stale when it comes to his promos lately. And I have to sort of agree with him before John Cena time. If you look at the previous guys that he's fought against, they haven't really helped him in becoming a better promo worker, where John Cena feels like he's sort of elevated Roman Reigns to another level when it comes to his promo work. And Nash, I want to bring you on this one because I know you like to over-criticize a lot of these guys when it comes to their promo work and their character work as well. So I want to know your feelings on this. How do you feel John Cena has helped Roman Reigns in getting over with his promo work?
Well, we've actually seen this before. We've seen Roman Reigns, John Cena before. We've seen this promo before. Everyone remembers that finish line that Cena threw at Roman Reigns a couple of years ago. I can do this better part-time than you could ever do it full-time. Cena, as much as you have your critics out there. I know Kyle's a huge fan of Cena, so I'm not gonna criticize him too much. I don't want him to walk out of this video. But Cena, as much as we've said, he cuts very generic promos that are scripted with their corporate stuff. At times, when it's needed, he steps up and he delivers a very good, solid promo. He helped Roman Reigns those years ago deliver a great promo. If you remember at the time, Roman Reigns wasn't really good on that mic. He was very, scripted, stale, stiff. When Cena cut a promo with him, Roman Reigns sort of naturalized into that mic because we were now seeing like two faces, the faces of the recent past and the face of what Vince McMahon wanted to be the face of WWE going into the future. And you could almost feel, it almost took me back to when Cena versus The Rock in 2011. That real raw shoot sort of promos. So this one, almost on that same level. So I think Cena does his job. When it needs to be done, he elevates talent. There are critics who say, he holds talent down, he keeps talent under. But there are times, Cena has done it time and time again. There are talent that he's elevated. So I think he's really helped Roman Reigns in this whole new feud of his and really elevated him to the next level. And honestly, I don't want Cena Reigns to be the last at SummerSlam. If anything, Kyle could actually get his wish and, Cena could be number 17, 17 world title reigns. And then we could get Reigns and Cena at the next pay-per-view again, Even though WWE has said, we don't do automatic rematches, we've seen time and time again, they are still doing the rematches, even though they said no automatic rematches. So, yeah.
That's good. How many rematches does Drew McIntyre get? Come on.
Charlotte this year, challenge again and again and again, and Drew McIntyre come out, and I need another title shot again and again and again.
Yeah. Jeremy, I want to bring you on this one because a lot of people are busy comparing John Cena, the essence of what John Cena has done in WWE, to that of AEW's Cody Rhodes, in the fact that he has what they call the proverbial golden shovel. And
yeah, I see this was.
Yeah, I want to bring you in this because I know you watch both shows, or at least you try and watch both shows, and you've got a general knowledge of good history of wrestling. Now I want to find out, they're comparing these two, but can we compare another wrestler from the 90s, late 80s, early 90s, in that they're the same as being protected as what Hulk Hogan was back in the day with that golden shovel?
Hell no. Hogan was something completely different, man. Hogan never did the job for anybody. For anybody. I was watching something recently where they were actually talking about the few people that have actually kicked out of that leg drop. It's mainly because of errors that were happening in the ring, not because it was planned beforehand. Cena's done work for people on more than one occasion. He's put Rock over, he's put Kevin Owens over, he's done loads. He's been pinned by loads of people, and legit pins. I mean, my other favorite wrestler, he's put CM Punk over several times. I love CM. Bee's knees, guys. But back to the point. Look, I think there's too much of hype around Cena and his golden shovel. The fact of the matter is, if you listen to some of the things that they tell the guys backstage, when they tell them, look, you're a big guy. You shouldn't be doing like bump spots and everything else. That's what they told Paul White. And now if we look at that, Cena, you're the guy. You're the top. You're basically the standard. Why would you just put anybody over? And I'll come back. I know I'm going to get flack for this, but I'm going to come back to this point. If Alex Riley was as good as everybody says that he is, if everybody says Alex Riley was at Kyle, be quiet. If everybody says Alex Riley was amazing, he was a genius, the man could talk, he could work. Where is he? Where's he at? Nobody knows. Nobody knows where he's at. Because you know why? Because he took his ball and he went home. It's not even his ball.
Last I heard, he was filming on Glow, wasn't he? Wasn't he a part-time on Glow? He was one of the trainers there, I think, or something.
Yes. So he's gone off to be a trainer. Guys, if you're as good as you say you are, let's look at Malachi Black. Let's look at him. The man is brilliant. He's brilliant. If you ask me, if there was somebody that's in WWE that probably would have went with Cena or even against a legitimate threat against Roman Reigns, you're talking Malachi Black. You're talking about him. You can't just throw anybody in the mix and expect them to just run. Roman Reigns, we've said from day one. I remember we had conversations about this. Why is he still using the Shield music? Why is he cutting these generic promos? Why is he covered up still? Look at they've given us everything that we've ever wanted with Reigns, and I don't even know if I can say he's on par with Cena anymore. Those promos and nothing is scripted. I don't even think they've given like points to hit before he goes out. They're just giving him the mic and like, go and do your thing. That's what happens when you hang out with Paul.
With that being said, are you under the impression? I want to say, are you saying that Roman Reigns is basically trying, or they grooming him to be the next John Cena in WWE, as in build a 10, 20-year franchise around him?
I think actually looking past Cena, I think they're actually comparing him to The Rock. I actually think they're looking at, like, Cena is a level of star, but if we're looking at a level of mega star, then we're looking at DJ. We're looking at Dwayne. There's nobody that comes close to him. And if you look at Reigns, at some point, they're going to have to pull the trigger on Reigns, and he's going to go face. And he's not just going to become a face. He's going to become like one of those, as Stone Cold calls it, white mate baby faces. That's like everybody just goes insane over. That's what, because that sort of mathematically it works out. So, however bad the people hate you, when you eventually start going face, when you eventually start your face turn, that's how much of heat or like positive heat you get when you become face. And that's what's going to happen with it. He's going to become a face like Dwayne was.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Carl, I want to bring you on this because you're a John Cena mark. You everything John Cena. You never give up. What are your thoughts on Roman Reigns being groomed to be the next superstar, and to be the next face like John Cena was for the last 15 years? Do you think Roman Reigns can handle that? Do you think Roman Reigns could be in that role? Or do you perhaps see somebody else filling in those the boots rather? Someone maybe like Drew McIntyre or, I don't know, Karrion Kross, for example, that they seem to be quite high on. I know that's a long shot, but let's stick with Roman. Do you think Roman could be the next John Cena for the next 15 years, be the franchise player, as they call him?
Look, I think he already is. But I still think that despite them giving us everything that we wanted with Roman, there's still so much to see. We're yet to see the tribal chief dethroned, but an angry tribal chief who's lost everything. We're still yet to see that part of his character where he's not cool and he's not calm and he's not collected and he's aggressive and he just shows up and really just wrecks people and walks out until he gets back what he wants. We've not seen Roman Reigns the chaser yet. If you look at this new gimmick that he's got and the time that they sort of introduced it to us, he was champion pretty much within a couple of weeks. You know, it's actually going to be a year now, this SummerSlam, that he's had that title. So, you know, this is a chapter. And I'm just excited for the next chapter because I think full-on beast mode of Roman Reigns is still yet to be unleashed. And that's what I'm most excited for. You know, with John, you know, I don't think there's a good a time as any for, you know, now is as good a time as any for John to come and take that championship. For him, if he were to go over to Monday Night Raw, beat a Bobby Lashley, win the WWE Championship, number 17, it doesn't hit as hard. Because for me, being that sort of world champion, being that number one guy, as they're going to make John when he wins number 17, not if, when he wins number 17, to say 17 different times over his career, he has been atop the WWE mountain. He cannot be the WWE champion and claim to be atop of the mountain when Roman Reigns is on the other side. So for him to have that sort of accolade and for it to be built around that, he has to beat Roman. And honestly, I see something like when Brock Lesnar had come back after all those years, John had beaten him, you know, slayed the beast. I don't think he was the beast at that time, but moving forward, he then gets squashed at SummerSlam. Moving forward, Brock Lesnar, you know, turns into this absolute animal who we know and we love today. And I think something very similar can happen with Roman. But I just believe that John deserves right now to ride off into the sunset as his 17-time champion and to at least have across all the generations having beaten someone. Vince and I suppose John himself were part of that for The Rock. I recall that you know, that program as if it were yesterday. And John came out, Rock came out and said to John, look, on a professional level, I need to come out here and be able to say that at WrestleMania, I have beaten Hulk Hogan, I have beaten Stone Cold Steve Austin, and I have beaten John Cena. For me to be the greatest of all time, that was his thing. And I think that John and the way his character arc needs to go is that exactly that same route. He has beaten megastars in their own right. And for him to be able to beat Roman, eventually, you know, take the pin, and then walk out, I think would be best for business. This initial loss, I'm calling it, this initial loss that's going to happen now this weekend is going to set off a chain of events that is going to have us see an actual better version of Roman Reigns, a beast version, an angry version, a chasing Roman, which is what I think we all don't know we want, but it's what we're going to get, and it's going to be something that we need.
Nash, I want to bring you on this one. Something Carl said that just triggered something in my mind quickly when he mentioned, you know, the iconic, you know, incidents and things like that with John Cena and The Rock. Do you think this match, the Roman Reigns John Cena match, is Roman's version of what The Rock and Hulk Hogan was? Because if you remember back in the day, and I'm talking about Hogan Rock, how everybody kept saying this was the match that everybody wanted to see at the time. You know, two of the greatest of all time in that ring. Okay, they had The Rock, who was at his peak. You know, was just about to go off to Hollywood. He was the top dog, and then you had the widely veteran in Hulk Hogan. Now I'm asking, do you think this Roman Reigns John Cena is a very parallel storyline to that, or do you see something different in this match to what that is?
No, I see something completely different because if you look at the John Cena Rock, it was basically two faces, right?
No,
Whether
I'm talking
you
about
want to look
The
at-
Rock and Hulk Hogan, eh?
Yeah, you also
Rock
brought
and
up Steve,
Hogan. Yeah.
so I'm also bringing that analogy in as well.
Okay.
Yeah, those are two faces, right? Whether you want to perceive it as people were cheering Rock and booing Cena, in the storyline, both Cena and Rock were faces. When you're taking it to WrestleMania 18, now you're talking about Hulk Hogan and The Rock. The Rock was the face going into it, if you recall. Hulk Hogan was the heel. He was still wearing the NWO colors. But a very interesting thing happened at the pay-per-view that only happened, I think, maybe once before at WrestleMania 13, when Stone Cold Steve Austin went in as the heel and Bret as the face, and then mid-match they switched roles. Same thing happened with Rock and Hogan. They switched roles halfway through because people were cheering for Hogan and booing Rock. So I don't see people. Yes, there are people cheering for Reigns, but those are the people who wanted to see Reigns as a heel to begin with. We're talking about the internet wrestling community here, the IWC. Jeremy's one of them. Yeah, so those are people that are cheering for Reigns. But in the storyline, Reigns is the perceived heel and Cena is the perceived face. And Cena coming back, a lot of people are excited for him coming in. So to say that you see a similar analogy would be false in my opinion.
You don't think we're going to get the proverbial John Cena heel turn?
I don't see that happening. I don't see it happening.
That's never.
It's never gonna happen. Yeah.
Imagine he takes a never give up, just throws it at like a kid's face or something. Give up, kid.
Yeah, that's
Carl getting angry. My boyhood hero.
Arthur's gonna lose his mind. His childhood hero.
All right, let's press on to the other WWE title match, the championship match. And I know I can sense it. Jeremy is getting ready to go on his rant. We're gonna be talking about Bobby Lashley and Goldberg. What you want to add one more thing on the Roman thing?
Yeah, just one thing before we leave. We were actually talking. Kyle said something now about that title. He can just go over to Raw and beat Bobby Lashley and make it 17. Did you guys notice all those fine points that they brought up in that promo last week?
All Goldberg, eh?
Yeah, I know. Well, he said you can go. You're good enough to win the WWE Championship, but you're not good enough to win the Universal Championship. Yeah.
Exactly. So I just wanted to bring that up, and I wanted to do one more thing because Vass left this out in his opening promo. Have a nice day. Bang bang. Shout out to Vass and his shirt. Move along, guys.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about Mr. Bill and Mr. Lashley. Bill versus Bobby. Let's just get the elephant out. Let's just talk about the elephant in the room. Jeremy, you have the floor. Go on your rant. I know you want to.
Hey.
How do you feel about this match?
Okay. The whole crawl that I have stuck in my throat about this entire thing goes all the way back to that Super Showdown match I use that term loosely. The Undertaker. Right? Then, as if that wasn't enough, then he beats the guy that I know all of us love him. He beats The Fiend. He takes the title of The Fiend. The Fiend that was literally murdering people. I'm still unsure how he wasn't arrested in a WWE ring. But anyway, let's move right past that. So now he comes back, and now he's basically facing somebody who, even though he doesn't have the power of the headband anymore, I mean, Bobby Lashley is still amazing. Lashley, I mean, you know what? What would make him beat Goldberg? You know what make him beat Goldberg? If he comes out there on Saturday night, headband on, guys.
Oof.
No.
I will mock out. I will go crazy. I will flip tables. If I see the headband,
Happens, that Facebook account might come back, guys. That Facebook. But anyway, look, I don't see why he should be in a program in a throwaway program, by the way, in a throwaway program with Goldberg at this point in time. It makes zero sense to me. I know Goldberg has that Hall of Famer nostalgia type kick that happens. I don't see it. I think there's that. To be very honest with you, that match that he had against Kofi, that was top draw for me. That was top draw. Actually, to me, I look at this whole promo, this whole thing, whatever you call it, this abomination that he's having with Goldberg at the moment. I don't understand it. I don't understand why they're doing it. All I want them to do is finish it. You know what? I want Bobby Lashley to hit a jackhammer on Goldberg. I want to do a good and I don't want Goldberg to come out anymore and do his version of a spear. That's that thing that he did on Monday night. That whatever it was.
I was gonna say talking. So the review for the Monday Night Raw should be out by the time this views as well for you guys because you're watching it. And I did mention the like Jeremy, the spear that Goldberg did on Lashley. If that's what we're gonna get at SummerSlam, now I'm gonna voice my little bit of opinion on this match because I'm not a fan of Goldberg. I've never been a fan of Goldberg. Growing up watching WCW, I was one of the few that used to boo Goldberg, even before he turned heel because of classic Vince Russo move there. But he is. So if everybody talks about John Cena being the 5-move Cena or Roman Reigns being 3-move Reigns, whatever it is, Goldberg is literally the prime example of a 2-move wrestler. And it's not to say he's old, so he can only do those 2 moves. He was doing that in the 90s already. Okay.
So, at quote unquote prime, at his prime, he was doing 2 moves.
Exactly. Now I've got this research here. I've pulled up all of Bill Goldberg's matches. Okay, and out of his 132 wins, whatever the case was, or whatever the thing is, there's a little time limit on how long every single match lasted. Should that little bit of a trivia game for you guys? Just, estimate. What is the longest match that Bill Goldberg has had in his entire career?
William Regal. It was that awful match with William Regal.
Wow.
I'm
going to give it time and say 12
close.
minutes. 12 minutes.
12 minutes. That's close. That's close. Nash, what are you guessing?
5 seconds.
5 minutes.
5 seconds.
All right. So the William Regal match that Jeremy's pointing out, that lasted 9 minutes 67 seconds. The official runtime of that match.
If you guys want to see an albino spotted leopard match where all the spots were missing, go watch that match.
What?
His longest recorded match, and Carl was the closest on this one, was 13 minutes and 6 seconds.
Is that
Brock? It is also a match that he lost. It was not Brock, no. Brock was 9 minutes. It was against Kevin Nash.
Oh dear.
It was the cattle prod match.
Are entrances included in these times, Vass, or is it bell to bell?
What's that?
Are the entrances included in this match?
Bell to bell. Bell to bell.
Okay.
Because if we add an entrance, you can add about 20 minutes onto every single match. It took so long to get down to the half matches.
Yeah, because
it's bell to bell.
Yeah, because Nash would tear a quad on his way.
Yeah, it is the match that ended his streak. That was the longest match that Bill Goldberg had in a wrestling ring. And just to put it in perspective for you, just to give you an idea, on Monday Night Raw, the women's tag match, which was recorded as the shortest match of the night, was 9 minutes long. Okay. I know the Karrion Kross match felt a hell of a lot shorter, but that was stopped at 10 minutes. So there you go.
Okay, that did feel that hella short.
Yeah. It's because he just threw Jeff Hardy around all over the ring, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, that's just to put in perspective. That means on average, Bill Goldberg's matches last as long as Karrion Kross and Jeff Hardy do.
Okay, but here's the thing. Those guys can actually work a match. Those guys know how to work a match, how to work with an opponent. They don't knock themselves out on a ring post. I've watched Jeff Hardy in TNA, man, and he was at the bottom he was pretty low in TNA, and not once did Jeff Hardy knock himself out in the
I'm glad you're laughing at this. So, I did tell you guys a little bit earlier today, I was watching the Vince Russo, or listening to the Vince Russo podcast today, bro. And I landed up listening to the whole hour and 20-minute rant that he had about WWE booking. And he spoke about Bill Goldberg. And I didn't mention this on the group because I wanted to talk about it tonight. And he mentioned how unprofessional Bill Goldberg is. Okay. According to the bro, Vince Russo, Bill Goldberg was the most difficult person to write a storyline for because Bill Goldberg didn't care about the wrestling business.
Jeez.
Okay. So all I'm going to say is if someone like Vince Russo says you don't care about the wrestling business, then you have a problem that your profession is the wrestling business. Because, and it's my opinion, Vince Russo is probably the worst ever wrestling booker, pundit, writer, whatever you want to call him. Okay, I have zero respect for whatever Vince Russo does. But the fact that he called Bill Goldberg someone who doesn't care about wrestling just proves how bad of a booking decision it is to have Bill Goldberg. Now, the other side of the coin, and this is what I want to bring in. I was listening to Mr. Alvarez from Wrestling Observer. He's pointed out something very, very important. If you look on Monday Night Raw, how many top baby faces are there currently that you could consider being a worthy challenger at SummerSlam for Bobby Lashley?
One.
Who?
One, but he's beaten him already. I mean, I would put Riddle there. I see him as a future world champ, so yeah, Matt Riddle, but he's beaten him many times already before, so
yeah.
I guess. Yeah.
So
what about Orton?
Orton is actually considered a heel. He's not considered a face. I mean, he turned on Riddle, and then liked Riddle again, and then turned on Riddle again, and then liked Riddle again.
Is Corbs a face yet?
Who's that?
Is Baron Corbin a face yet?
He's on Smackdown.
Hasn't he been coming to Raw?
No, it was the full wrestler invitational bull rubbish thing, and Jinder paid him to come.
If Baron Corbin shut the match at this point for Bobby Lashley.
Well, listen, he's Mr. Money in the Bank at the moment. He did steal the briefcase.
Yes. Okay.
But yeah, so going back to Raw, there isn't really anyone in that position who's there. The only one who I personally can see get to that position who would be a worthy challenger of Lashley would be someone like Keith Lee. But he's been booked so badly that, I mean, he's come back, he had a loss, and then hasn't been on Raw for 2 weeks. It makes absolutely no sense to me.
Keith Lee would. I would actually like to see Keith Lee take that title of Lashley.
I'd love it. I mean, you guys saw how I marked out on the Raw review when Keith Lee came back.
Yeah.
Yeah, I lost my voice because of that.
Mm.
There's
I don't
no
know.
one better. But the thing is now, so I'm going to ask this question. After Bill Goldberg, we're going to assume Bobby Lashley wins. Okay? After Bill Goldberg, where do we go with Lashley?
I'll jump in there. I think
All right.
it's time for a cash in. I think Big E at this event, whether it's Lashley or Goldberg who picks up the win, I think Big E cashing in at SummerSlam, becoming the WWE champion is the next best route for WWE.
Yeah.
And for Raw, you're saying now they're on top baby faces who are ready to challenge Bobby. So what happens in that case is that you put the belt on a face, and then you have all the heels come up. You feed it to him. And I think they're at that space right now where Big E as the champion, potentially going into a Survivor Series, with the New Day behind him against Roman and the Usos, seems like something I can buy into and seems like a decent main event for that pay-per-view. But I think Bobby's run its course at this point.
I like that. I like that concept of Big E getting the title going to Raw. What I don't like about it is reuniting New Day. Because I feel then that takes away a lot of what Big E did. And I'm like, no disrespect to the New Day. I mean, when Kofi was champion, it was fantastic. He had the backing of his brothers, and they were great for him. But I think the split of moving them away, but they're still calling themselves the New Day, which is what I like, because they're still doing the podcast together. They're still doing the videos together. I mean, there's so many pictures on WWE.com of them hugging backstage when they're in the same arena, and they still call themselves the New Day collectively. I think Big E needs to be separated. I think for at least for about a year, maybe two. But I do like the concept of him maybe cashing in. Maybe not at SummerSlam, maybe at like WrestleMania. If you can keep it to that long.
Sure.
I have an idea for you. We keep Big E exactly where he is, and he cashes in on Roman. So that happens there. But something happened on Monday night, and I think the crowd are ready for the most wanted to be WWE champion.
Yeah.
Yeah. The crowd going nuts.
Do you remember what I said? How I'll flip tables.
Who's ready to be a face? Who's ready to be this nuclear? The crowd want to love him. The crowd, and I would copy his hairstyle, except I have one little problem there.
Listen, if America's Most Wanted goes to the top of the table, I'll be there 100%. I love Johnny Drip Drip. I love the man so much. The way they built his character, like I was very scared in the beginning because they brought him back as Miz's partner, trying to hit on that nostalgia stuff. When I know what he did at Lucha Underground and Impact as Johnny Impact and Johnny Mundo, I was like, this man has to be in the main event. But they've slow burned him. They've kept him under the wraps. They've kept him safe with Miz. I think it's time we get a Miz Johnny Morrison match, face off against each other.
One of his tag team partners goes on to something greater. The poison chalice of the Miz again, guys. I told you about this. I told you about it. Everybody that the Miz teams with at some point in time.
It happens.
Want me start counting?
I'm hoping it doesn't this time, Jeremy. I'm hoping. Okay, we're going to move on. We're going to talk about the women's matches. And we're going to start with one that I don't care about. I'll be honest with you. I'm not a fan of either of the two. So we'll let you guys just handle this one a little bit. I'll voice a little bit of my opinion, I guess. I can see Nash getting angry with me because I know he's a big Banks fan. But yeah, let's talk about Bianca Ballet and Sasha Banks. I'll give my quick opinion. I think Bianca Ballet is better at chasing the title than being a champion. I think she's been a very lackluster champion. I don't think it's been exciting enough for me. Maybe the quality of wrestlers that she's faced hasn't been great. I do like Carmella in the ring. She's very good. But Selena Vega has been booked terribly since her return. I don't get it. And I really wanted to see someone like Liv Morgan step up to the plate rather than Bianca Ballet. But, like nothing against Ballet. She's fantastic in the ring. She's a good wrestler. Just not my cup of tea. What gets me the most, though, is her promo work. It sounds exactly the same every single week. I'm Bianca Belair. I defeated the odds. I had the WrestleMania match. I did this. I did this. I did this. And it feels like we've had the same character since Royal Rumble. Since winning the Royal Rumble, it's been the same Bianca Belair for the last 8 months now. We haven't seen any sort of character development. And I feel as a champion, you need to have that character. I mean, I had the same issues with Drew McIntyre when Drew McIntyre was champion. He was boring as a champion. Every day coming out, telling about us how he eliminated Brock Lesnar and became champion, beat Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania, whatever. It didn't feel like anything, when he was champion. But when he was chasing the championship title, it was fantastic. I mean, when he lost it to Randy Orton that 1 week and then 1 week later, in that 1 week, I got excited for the original Drew McIntyre that we had. And I think Bianca Belair was an experiment of trying to bring NXT wrestlers up to the main front. It was her first sort of real foray in the main roster. And personally, I think it's a failed experiment. I think she needs a little bit more time to develop as a champion and maybe get her back on the hunt of chasing titles rather than being champion. So let's hear your opinions. Let's start with Nash. Nash, you've been quiet for a long time. I can see the Bianca Belair, Sasha Banks brewing up in you. I've got a feeling I know where you're going to lean on this one, but let's hear what you're going to
say. Okay. So I am very upset.
Yes.
Okay. Let's get the elephant out of the room. Okay. Everybody knows that I'm a huge Sasha Banks fan. Always have been. Always will be. I get real upset when somebody, bashes my bae, but it's all right. I'm chill. I'm chill on that. But I'm with you on the fact that there's been no development with Bianca Belair. Like, okay, WrestleMania, she went against Sasha Banks, right? There was a whole storyline there. Every storyline that she's had since, and every title event, every challenger that's come since, she's run that same storyline, almost like a microwave. When she faced Carmella, it was the same storyline. Oh, I'm this, I'm the EST, I'm this, I'm that, I'm gonna beat you, and then she does, and then goes on to the next challenger. And it goes back to what Vaz has been saying in a lot of his reviews, is that when you look at the women's division on Raw and SmackDown, there is the talent pool is very thin, extremely thin. And this is where they need to start bringing in some girls from NXT. I disagree with the fact that you said that Bianca Belair was an NXT experiment gone wrong. Because if that was the case, then
it went wrong. Never said it went wrong. I said that they just need to develop more on it. Remember, she's the first proper NXT to come up since Banks, Charlotte, Becky Lynch, and them. Okay, the first one that has been thrusted in the spotlight compared to the others. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. I'm not saying that it's been wrong. I'm saying it needs to be developed more. I think they pushed her too quickly into that role because they didn't have enough talent to be pushed into that role, if that makes sense. I mean, if we look at the Women's Royal Rumble match, all right, the talent that they used, a lot of it came from NXT, first of all, because the main roster is struggling to bring talent up. I mean, and people keep complaining, we keep getting thrashed, forced down our throats, Charlotte Flair. It's always Charlotte. But we've got to think why. Because who else in the SmackDown and Raw can compete to the work level that Charlotte brings? And I know this is a very offsides opinion. I know a lot of people don't like Charlotte Flair because she can throw, she's the Roman Reigns of the women's division, she's already a 12-time champion or something ridiculous like that. But you got to think why. Because whoever has a match with Charlotte Flair gets elevated. They immediately look better than what they have. And that is credit to Charlotte for being so good. Another wrestler who used to do that was Becky Lynch, right? Becky on the main roster never had a bad match because she put in the effort. And when these wrestlers fight against her or they scrape against her, they put in the effort. When I watched that Selena Vega Bianca Ballet match, Zelina put in zero effort, Bianca put in zero effort, and we got one of the most boring matches in SmackDown history. You know what I'm saying? It's like they don't care. Yes, but I'm not a wrong experiment. That's what I'm saying.
Oh, okay. Well, I probably misunderstood you. But yeah, like you said, I think the problem is they haven't really developed the ladies before bringing them up. Because if you look at how Bianca was brought up, right? I see Jeremy shaking his head, but that's fine.
Oh, no, they
If you
didn't.
look
They
at how
didn't.
Bianca was brought up, she was brought up because she was Montez Ford's wife to be the valet for the Street Profits. She wasn't thrust too much into the matches. Given character development, she was just the valet for the Street Profits. If she had stayed on NXT longer, been allowed to develop, and then brought up, maybe, just maybe, we may get some better character, some better matches, or better promo quality.
Main roster was already set up from the previous Royal Rumble when she had the record for the most eliminations. All right.
Yes.
From then, we knew they were going to push Bianca Belair to the forefront. What they didn't do is develop her in-ring skills and her mic skills to be for that of cable TV. Because remember, at the time, NXT wasn't on like USA Network. It was still showing on WWE Network. It was very raw in the presenting of NXT. And that is the problem. And a lot of the NXT guys have, especially from that era of NXT, is they didn't have this experience of main roster TV. And a lot of guys, if you listen to their, like, when they get released and stuff on the TMZs and all those little tabloid stuff, they all talk about how different it is being on a WWE TV show than it is being on any other show.
Yeah.
And I think Bianca Belair, they didn't prepare her enough for that. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I agree with
you've
that.
Been quiet. You've been quiet. Let's see what you've got to say about this.
Yeah, I'm a massive advocate for the women's division. I think I actually watch it a lot more eagerly than I do a lot of the men's things. And Bianca, as you're saying, was a failed experiment that needs a lot of work. You know, when you look at someone who is a world champion, which is what she is, you know, she's main evented WrestleMania Night 1. There's a certain element that a champion and a main event has got to have, and certain ticks within certain boxes. You know, I don't doubt her in-ring capabilities. You know, obviously you guys are saying the promo work needs some help, but I believe, you know, there's little video packages that the WWE puts together before, you know, any match goes on. I'd like to think that they actually write those before they actually plan their weekly programming and find ways to plug lines into those recaps and those promos that they're going in. So they for someone who comes in and doesn't watch the weekly programming, only watches the pay-per-view, they're only seeing one-liners, hard-hitting one-liners, hard-hitting, you know, action within the ring, and they're presenting someone like her. And a lot of
that's what a good editor does, you know.
As like every good editor does, yes, of course.
There's no one better at editing videos than those guys that are NXT. Because if you watch those NXT video packages, man, you can get hyped for the dumbest matches possible, and you in it. I don't know how they do it every time, but I remember, I can't remember. It was maybe about a year and a half ago. There was a random NXT match that they hyped up for some unknown reason, and they had this video package. I thought it was the main event, and it was like the opening match or something. That's how good they are in hyping these matches up. And I get what you're saying. You know, they take where she sounds good, and they just add a little bit of sound effect, sprinkle a little bit of, you know, magic on it, and that's how you make a champion. Though it is.
It is.
I mean,
I'll tell you, like I watched a couple of the WrestleMania matches with like at home, and my mom, who despised it for us growing up, which is why I didn't really watch it as a kid, comes now and actually, you know, will watch WrestleMania, will watch SummerSlam, loves the Royal Rumble. And obviously, night one's main event was Sasha Banks against Bianca Ballet. I just don't think it hits home with Bianca. You know, it starts from her outfit. I hate the way they dress her. She's supposed to be a champion who looks confident. If you had to line up Becky Lynch, Charlotte Flair, even Bailey in her prime, you know, with maybe someone like
Bailey in
Selena
a
Vega.
prime.
Bailey
Bailey
in a
is in a
prime.
prime, damn it. That's the best version of Bailey we've ever had.
My Bailey in her prime was the higher. I'm sorry.
He said, when Kyle said, what's wrong with the way Sasha Banks is dressed? Were you watching Nash's face when that happened?
No. I didn't say anything's wrong with the way Sasha Banks is dressed. Hold on. I said
Watch yourself, Kyle.
if you had to take the last 5 or 6 women's champions, right? Charlotte Flair, Rhea Ripley, Sasha Banks, Becky Lynch, all of them holding their championships, and put them next to Bianca Belair, she looks like the odd one out. She doesn't look like that confident main event talent. Her music, when her music hits, you don't even hear that whoop. You don't even hear the lyrics in the song echoing through your TV. You know when Becky Lynch is there. You know Charlotte Flair's around. With the men, same thing. When The Rock's music hits, when Cena's music hits.
I'll give Bianca Belair one thing. I like her entrance theme, okay? That's the one thing I do like about Bianca Belair. I don't care if you can't or you can't hear the word. I like the song. It's a good entrance theme for me personally.
Well, you can put it on your iTunes.
Can't hear it.
You want me to sit down? What?
Volume.
I swear I put it on high volume, but I just can never hear her entrance music. I just don't think she's got the look. I don't think she's got the feel. Why does she keep tapping her bum or her thigh? What is that? Like, I don't understand this move.
I think that's
what is that supposed to mean?
I think that's an NXT thing. I think that's a general NXT thing.
When she
used to do it on NXT.
I am
PG.
She used to do that on NXT. It was part of her dance moves that she did on NXT.
This is your woman's.
I think aside from that, that might also be a young hip thing, and that's why probably we don't get it. So
yeah, listen. Between me and Jeremy, the collective age is on the upper end scale. Okay.
I don't get it.
We don't understand these young dance moves.
Okay, but look, I think this whole thing, in fact, the way I view this whole feud is it's generally aimed at a younger person, and I think that's why, because some of the terminology, the dance moves, the general way of speaking, and the clapping thing and everything else, I'm pretty sure it's not aimed at either one of us. That's why we probably don't get it that much. But that being said, I do like this match, and the only thing that there's 2 things in this whole feud that it is not just I don't get it. Number one is the constant use of Bianca Belair's hair. I don't know why it needs to be like the forefront of every single feud, but okay, it's enough now. It's
long. We get it.
That's one.
Mark my word. There's going to be a bank statement with the hair across the mouth.
And they didn't steal that from Roman Reigns or Edge.
No. All original, yeah.
The second thing is, and if I never see one of these in the WWE ever again, it'll be too soon. Guys, those contract signings. Man, last week, I haven't watched that, and I must be honest, I watched Smackdown last week, and Smackdown was great. And then when it started ramping up, and then I was like, oh my word, they are going to do another contract signing. Every match. Why don't they just do every contract signing for every match ever? Everything. Everything.
But what I want to know is, right, these matches have already been confirmed, right?
Yeah.
They've already been put on the card. So why are they signing a contract after the match has already been announced? That's what I want to know. Bianca
I've
Belair's
got- I've
Sasha
got a
Banks
better
was
one
announced
for you.
2 weeks ago, but they did a contract signing last week. That doesn't make sense to me.
What about let's talk about those matches that just happen on the fly. You know, WWE loves that opening promo, right? They love starting off every single show with the opening promo. That inevitably leads to some type of jump and an opening match. Where's the contract for that, guys?
They ad break.
Well,
They
if
cut
you want
to
to
ad break.
I do mention it
you want to
in my reviews quite often.
start
I mention in my reviews quite often that the wrestlers have a lot of say in the matches they book. You know, they don't need to listen to the back staff. You know, they literally say, "Listen, it's going to be me versus you, AJ Styles," and bam, next 10 seconds the match is on.
Where's the contract for that? Where's the paperwork, guys? Where's the paperwork?
The lawyer Jeremy has spoken. Yeah, paperwork. All right, let's move on. We're going into the Raw Women's match, and it's Nikki ASH taking on Rhea Ripley and Charlotte in a triple threat match for the Raw Women's Championship. And look, I'm not a huge fan of what they've done to Nikki Ash, or Nikki Cross, whatever you want to call her, but I get it. I get the concept behind it. It's appealing to a younger audience to try and get them in. The superhero, I get that concept. And you know what? Kudos to Nikki. She's done a fantastic job in trying to get it over. I love and I hate the little inspirational talks before every match, though. Those get me a little bit sometimes. Because they're sort of the same thing, but they're not. But in the same breath, I'm loving what Charlotte Flair is doing right now. I think this version of Charlotte is the version that we should have had and we must always have, because it's the perfect heel persona for Charlotte Flair. She should never, and I mean ever, be a face again. All right? Let's get your guys' opinion on this one. Let's start with you, Jeremy, on this one. I can see you bubbling a little bit there. What's your opinion on this match? How do you see it going? What's happening?
What the hell?
So this is Billy. Billy,
Oh my
my
God.
doll. Billy will
If
come in.
Billy that any of us,
You just gotta stare long
Billy
enough, and
said-
Billy will win.
If that thing winks, I'm pulling you from air, dude. You're not even going to be on the show anymore.
Billy
Just
is
letting
going
you
to
guys know
wink
he's here.
us, and then
He's
I'm
here.
going to be so distracted, I'm going to be rolled up. And yeah, but let's move away from that. Getting ahead of myself. Okay. Look, I'm a fan. I grew up with 80s wrestling. I grew up with hokey crap. Right? I grew up. I watched Duke the Drumster Drosy, the wrestling garbage man. I watched these things. I like them. I like the wrestling tax man. I like the repo man. I like all of these things. So when
Isaac Yankum.
there we go. So when Nikki ASH comes out, as much as a lot of people are like, oh no, she's super positive and everything else, I like it. I find myself watching her out and I'm like, you go, girl. Okay. I like Charlotte and the nightmare lady, the really scary lady who's, they I must admit, I do like Nikki Cross. I don't understand though why they book her the way that they do, because every other champ that has been that every other champ doesn't lose as regularly as the almost superhero. I don't understand it. She lost
Her
again.
booking's been all over the place.
It's like I don't get it. That's the part I don't get. I do like the heel Charlotte Flair. I do like the fact that she comes out and she speaks the way that she does. It's obvious that she's been listening to her dad quite a bit, because nobody cuts a heel promo like Charlotte Flair. And I mean, nobody. Some of the male heels can take a note or two from her. And just in general, I do like what's happening with this putting the three of them together. I do think though that at some point they're going to have to move these three ladies away from each other, because
Now,
we've been seeing some form of this from WrestleMania. And
yeah.
okay,
Now, this is what I want to bring in, because it's the same situation that SmackDown has. If Nikki Ash wins the title, right? She retains it. Who steps up? Where do they go from there? If Rhea Ripley wins the title, where do they go from there? And I know Kyle's going Alexa Bliss.
We
I
know
understand.
where Raw.
She's probably up there in a contending title, I assume, once she gets over the stupid Eva Marie thing. I see they're trying to bring Nia Jax through with Raw, which was the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my life, because you could have put a potato next to Charlotte Flair and probably had more chemistry.
I'm not going to say anything. I'm going to be the bigger man and walk away from that.
You haven't watched the Raw review yet, but when you do,
No.
I apologize to you as well on that video live, so it's okay. All right. I'm sorry. You watched Raw, right? Have you watched Raw?
Yeah, I did, unfortunately.
You watched that tag match. There was absolutely zero chemistry between Nia Jax and all three of them. It felt like I said in my review, Doink the Clown or Hornswoggle probably would have put on a better chemistry match than Nia Jax did in that match. And it made absolutely no sense to have Nia Jax in that match at all. And this is scary. It doesn't. There's no reason. And what I'm going to assume is they're planning for Nikki Ash to retain, and they're planning for Nia Jax, Nikki Ash going forward. That's the only thing, logically thinking, if they're going to inject her in a tag match, that's the only reason why, right?
So what happens with Baszler then?
Exactly.
Again.
Yeah. Why does Baszler get screwed again? But anyway, that's a conversation for a different day. Nashville, let's get your opinion on this women's triple threat. Let's try and keep it to the actual three wrestlers.
Yeah. All I hear from you guys is Nikki Ash and Charlotte Flair. I think people have forgotten there's a third person in this match, and her name is Rhea Ripley. So, and here's my gripe is this match, Rhea Ripley is being treated almost as an afterthought. Which brings me to the point is, if she is being treated as an afterthought, why have her in this match at all to begin with, right? That's my first gripe. My second gripe is they pushed Nikki Ash too quick, too soon. Yes, it was the right call to have her win Money in the Bank, but to have her cash in this soon, I think was a bad call. They should have had her, come out with the briefcase a little bit more week after week, tease a little bit, run around like a superhero with the briefcase and stuff like that. But no,
classic
very
women's
next
division.
time she passes in, and that was disastrous in my opinion, because now you've just thrown her into the deep end, and when you do that, it's making Charlotte Flair look more like this, like the star of this match than Nikki Ash, and Nikki Ash is just there, and Rhea Ripley is not even like part of the conversation. And yes, I agree. Charlotte Flair as a heel, 100% the best. She should always be a heel, in my opinion. She should never be a face. And she does cut great promos, like Jeremy said, very excellent promos. And yes, she's a great athlete in the ring. She does some amazing moves. But there's always a but. I, for one, personally, am sick and tired of seeing Charlotte Flair in the main spotlight over and over again. And maybe it's because of their talent pool being so thin, there's no one else to step up and elevate. But you brought this point up earlier, where whoever Charlotte Flair has a match with, they come out looking better, and Charlotte Flair has that ability to make whomever she's in the ring with look good. But then it begs the question that once she's made the superstar look good, why has that superstar not stayed at the same level? Why have they dropped down? Because like we mentioned earlier with the Bianca Belair, Sasha Banks thing, is that they're not developing superstars enough, or they're not developing them maybe long enough to get to that point. So if this is the last time I see Charlotte Flair in a title match, I won't be sad, but I'm pretty sure we're going to see her in many, many title matches for many years to come because, WWE officials are high on her and they've got no reason to doubt her. She's good on the ring. She's good on the mic. She's the perfect package you want as your star, someone like you build your division around. And I think, yes, it's okay to use her as someone who's going to elevate other talent, like stick her there, put someone with her to grow, elevate, and build that character up to be at that level. But if that character cannot stay at that level after having a match with Charlotte Flair, then I think it's all in vain and they really need to rethink their strategy. So, in my opinion, this match, I'm not really looking forward to it because as much as, put that thing away, Kyle, as much as
I was waving because you're saying goodbye to all the opponents.
As much as this match, maybe people are looking at it more as the Raw Women's Championship match as the match they're most looking forward to. And yes, I'm biased. I'm looking forward to the Sasha Banks match for obvious reasons. But I'm not feeling it from this match because they pushed Nikki Ash far too soon, too quick. And I have no interest in Charlotte Flair. I've lost the flavor and the interest in Rhea Ripley, and Nikki Ash is going at 100 miles an hour when she should be going at 50 miles right now, getting to the point where she needs to be. So my interest in this match is the same as Baz's interest in the Ballet Banks match, basically.
Look, going to a point that you tried to make regarding if Charlotte Flair is that good, who has she put over? Thing that you're trying to pull over there. Just to run down, here's a few matches that Charlotte Flair has had in WWE. I've just, while you were talking, I brought it up here on my laptop. And just to show you the guys that she's put over: Becky Lynch, Ronda Rousey. Right, that's two huge names. Sasha Banks, another big name that she's put over. Rhea Ripley, who we can assume has been very good. She's put her over nicely. Ember Moon, bad booking, but it helped her in a short term, I guess, in Raw. So she's done her job. Alexa Bliss, there you go, Carl. There's one that she's helped elevate to a new level. And in fact, it was Alexa Bliss's first victory on the main roster was against Charlotte Flair. So look at that. So just to clarify, those are the ones that she's helped put over and things like that. But I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying being a boring match. I get it. Let's move on.
I've got two things.
Yeah, Carl. Yeah, sorry, but yeah.
Right. So when Nikki Ash became women's champion, I was hoping and praying the whole voodoo aspect of Bliss was going to play into this, and I'll explain why. I wanted Nikki Ash, or Nikki Cross rather, to get back to her NXT roots. That twisted sister, that twisted when Nikki was back in NXT, and I thought that Alexa Bliss's character was what was going to bring that out of her. Throughout this entire shenanigan between Bliss and the Fiend and so on, Nikki has always been that one, on-screen character to want to still appeal to Bliss's, other nature, still want to be able to talk to her. And I thought Bliss was going to show her the dark side and really turn Nikki into this main event player that she could potentially be. I was sadly disappointed. I would have had Money in the Bank end where Bliss is on top of that ladder, ready to pull that briefcase down and leaves it because she sees Nikki there who grabs it, and we can continue with this feud going into some crazy payoff, potentially next year at WrestleMania where these two are at each other's throats, title or not. So I think right now the payoff for this Nikki Ash character should have been when she eventually becomes the superhero, almost a superhero. When are we going to actually become a superhero? And so in terms of the timing of that, that's when she should have become champion. So I completely, agree with you guys' sentiment and share it in that she is moving at 100 miles per hour when she should be going at 50. I still think this is savable. And I think your question around what's next, who then steps up, is so difficult to answer because on both shows, Raw and SmackDown, The secondary women's programs that are happening are just, there's no substance to it. There's no young star being built outside of the title picture that you're going to look at and say, you know what, 2 months down the line, this girl is going to be up there in the main event scene. I'd love to on Raw see, you know, something like Rhea and Shayna, you know, be in a program by themselves, no title on the line, where it eventually gets to a point where whomever is the victor in it goes up into sort of that title picture and that title scene. Right now in Raw, the secondary women's scene is effectively, you know, Bliss and Doudrop and Billy's sister Lily, and Eva. And then on the SmackDown side of things, it's Carmella and Zelina. And then when Natalya and Tamina were tag team champions, they were, you know, also in and about the mix. None of those secondary
storylines on the tag team division of the women's
whatever
side,
they were, because they were roaming, but none of those secondary programs are making you excited to say, all right, this title match, this title picture is wrapped up. Sasha Banks and Bianca Ballet is wrapped up, or Charlotte Flair and Rhea Ripley is wrapped up. Who's next? Why should we get excited about this person? We're not getting that, and that's effectively the biggest problem when it comes to the booking. You know,
look, I've been saying it for weeks on my reviews. The women's division on the main roster is in shambles. Let's just leave it at that there. Okay, we don't have much time left. Yes, Jeremy, I can see your plight. We've got don't have much time left. We've still got to get to our predictions, but I want to talk about one last match. I know there's so many matches, we can't go through all of them, unfortunately. But there is one that I want to talk about because it's one that I am super excited for. And not because it's Edge, but because I'm going to say it, because I have embraced the vision, all right? This is the best Seth Rollins that we have ever gotten, right? I'm excited for this match.
And the man has amazing suits. You gotta say that.
His drip is fantastic. I tried to get a suit like that for my wedding. I got vetoed out of that, unfortunately.
We could have told you that was gonna happen.
You win some battles. But I want to talk about this match because I feel right now Edge is possibly the best microphone worker in WWE. His promos have been beautiful. Seth Rollins' promos have been amazing. And it just feels like whenever these two are on screen, it feels, and I don't know if you guys feel the same, but for me, it feels like a proper old school feud. It feels like these two guys are there and they're fighting for a reason. It's none of this rubbish of, you know, like, not to say that's a rubbish feud, Roman Reigns and John Cena, but you can feel that's genetically written. Where this one feels organic. It feels like these two genuinely dislike each other. And you don't get that in wrestling anymore. The only other one that I can think of the top of my head when it comes to feuds like that is maybe Adam Page and Kenny Omega. But because that has been built up for so long that we feel the hatred in them. And what those two have done is what Seth and Edge have done in a matter of, what, 3 weeks? About 5 weeks. Maybe 6.
But remember, the root for this story was planted a while back. And WWE don't do that anymore. WWE don't do
that's the thing.
Storylines anymore.
That's the thing. So, Nash, let me get your...
Sorry.
No, sorry, carry on.
About the cash in with the women's Money in the Bank briefcase. They don't do the long build up on anything anymore. Everything needs to happen in the matter of a few weeks. And that's why this whole
a 4 to 5 week period to the next pay-per-view. That's how they're booking right now. They're not booking things that are going to be happening on Raw Rumble, for example.
That's why Edge and Rollins feels amazing, because you can see this storyline. And when they've cut promos on each other, they've actually hit on those different timelines. They've spoken about the last time they fought. They've spoken about what happened with the whole Reigns thing and then costing the belt and everything else. It's amazing. This is like OG wrestling. This is damn like Ted DiBiase back in the day. This is what I. This is what I. This is good.
Nash, I want to bring you on this one. All right, you're a big Edge fan. So I was reading a comment, and I want to know if you agree or disagree with this comment, that this version of Edge might be better than the 2011 version of Edge, which is the one that people generally say is the best version of Edge. What do you think about that?
I disagree with both comments. This Edge, okay for this feud. 2011 Edge, yeah, was all right. My favorite version of Edge.
Hold on, why do you say 2011 Edge was all right? He was at the top of his game in 2011, just before he retired.
You see, that whole top of the game thing doesn't matter to me. My favorite version of Edge has to be the 2006 to 2008 Edge. That was Edge's prime. If you're looking at
the live on TV.
Yes, that's the number one reason why.
That was the best version of Edge. That wasn't the best version of
I disagree. The best version of Edge was when he was tagging with Christian. That's my opinion.
Exactly. Did you ever see fully shirted Edge? Brood Edge? Did you ever see that, man?
No. My best version of Edge is just when they left the Brood and they started feuding with the Hardys and the Dudleys. That version of Edge, the 5 second for flash photography.
Yes.
For benefit of that Edge was brilliant. I love that Edge. But anyway, sorry, we cut you off there.
Sorry, we hijacked your.
It's fine. I just like the 2006, 2008 Edge because look at his feud with Cena. You know, the TLC matches he had with Cena. Then he tagged with Randy Orton for a while. That was an amazing tag team. Then you want to go to 2008 when he had La Familia. He had the Edge heads. He was facing The Undertaker in the main event of WrestleMania. He had another TLC match with Undertaker later that year. Plus, my favorite Hell in a Cell match at that year's SummerSlam in 2008. That was the best Edge. After that, Edge was all right, but it wasn't.
When did Edge have his WrestleMania match with Mick Foley?
That was, it was 2006, WrestleMania 22.
Was that 2006?
Yeah, it was 2006,
okay. I know it was before The Undertaker, that wrestle. Yeah, okay, yeah. That was a good Edge.
So, yeah, like that was my favorite version of Edge. This version of Edge is not my favorite, but at least it suits, the mode of the storyline. And yes, I agree that this is probably the best Seth Rollins we've had. Although it's a very, very close second would be my favorite Seth Rollins, which was the 2014-2015 Seth Rollins, just after he sold out to the Authority and he had this long storyline with the Money in the Bank and he was WWE champion and he defeated challenger after challenger. It brought me back to the days when CM Punk was WWE champion. Sorry, Jeremy, I know you're a bit upset about this comment, but I have to bring it up. When he was champion, and he was champion for, I think, 400 and somewhat days, and he beat challenger after challenger after challenger. And I was behind CM Punk the whole way. The same way I was behind Seth Rollins the whole way when he was defeating challenger after challenger. That was probably my favorite Seth Rollins. But this one just tops that one in the sense that it's not about a title anymore. Although, yes, the end goal of this whole feud, like you mentioned in your reviews, Gav, is probably a number one contenders, the next guy in line to fight for the Universal Championship. So, yeah, this Seth Rollins is great. And as far as this match goes, when it comes to SummerSlam, I could care less about Bobby Lashley and Goldberg. I could care two hoots about the tag team matches or the women's matches. Yes, okay, Reigns and Cena, yeah, that's your main event, whatever. Yeah, okay, you guys stay there. But the match I'm looking forward to the most has to be Edge versus Seth Rollins because you got two of my personal favorite guys in a match against each other. A dream match, personally, of mine. I know I haven't said that before, but it actually is. It's a closet dream match of mine coming true. So when it comes to SummerSlam, I don't care about any other match. This, Edge versus Seth Rollins, this is the match for me. This, for me, is my main event.
All right. Because we need to wrap up on time. Let's get to the predictions. And we're going to get to Jeremy because it looks like he's falling asleep there. I think it's past his bedtime. You know, the old generation that needs to go to bed.
Can you see my new sign?
Pull it back a bit. It's too close to the camera.
Cash money, Phil.
Let's get to the predictions. All right, this is for the game. Jeremy is currently leading 5 to mine and Nash's 3, all because of voodoo. So let's go, Jeremy. I'm gonna run down the matches. You just tell me the winner. Jinder McIntyre.
Say that. Do you know that there's 10 matches on this card?
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I've got 9.
There's 10.
Okay, go, and then I'll tell you which one you don't have.
All right, let me see which one I left out. Yeah. Okay, so Jinder McIntyre.
Jinder.
Playing with your heart there. Usos Mysterio. Mysterios.
Okay. Then I'm going with the Usos, but I see Dominic turning here.
You've been watching my reviews, haven't you?
Yep.
Yes. I see Dominic definitely turning here.
Okay.
There's gonna be something that's gonna happen here with this whole.
I'm gonna put that. If you get it right, I'll give you a point for that. Because that's one of my stuff. That's one of my predictions too. All right, Seth, AJ Omos versus RK Bro.
RK Bro, they're gonna pull the trigger on these guys. They don't plan. There's no way they don't pull the trigger on these guys this week.
All right, then we've got Sheamus versus Damon Archer for the US title.
Damien Priest.
Damien Priest, not Damien Archer.
And
I think of Damien. I think of that arrow thing that he does in the beginning.
and as I like, and as much as I'm Sheamus, he's a Liverpool guy. I'm gonna go with Priest, man. I have to go with Priest
on that one. All right, Seth Rollins, Edge.
By a whisker, by a hair. I'm going with Rollins.
All right. Raw women's match.
Nikki Ash. Let's go with Nikki Ash on this one.
Nikki Ash. Okay. All right. The Smackdown women's match.
I'm gonna say that's gonna be probably one of the few title changes for the night. Banks. I'm going with Banks.
Okay. Okay. Then we're gonna get Roman versus Cena.
Reigns.
And then lastly, what I have on my list, Lashley versus.
I haven't figured out whether or not it's gonna be clean or not, or whether there's gonna be shenanigans or anything, but it's gonna be Reigns.
Okay. Lashley Goldberg.
Lashley via almost a squash match.
Okay, and what did I miss there? So those are ones.
The Bliss match.
Ah, yeah. Sorry, Carl.
Yeah, you didn't read it out in the beginning. That's what I was saying. But where's Bliss on this card?
Yeah.
Okay, so Bliss versus Marie. I can guess this one.
I'm gonna go with Bliss. But I see the pin actually coming from Lily or something weird. Lily.
So I'm gonna put you Bliss Voodoo again.
No, but guys, somehow Lily is going to make a physical presence at some point. I don't know whether it's going to be the same as when Bray Wyatt was his own sister, but it's going to be. It's going to be something that we don't see coming. And it would not surprise me if the pinfall actually comes from Lily.
All right, all right. Okay, so we got Jeremy's predictions locked in. Mr. Kyle,
Yes.
start with you. Jinder McIntyre.
I'm going to go Drew McIntyre.
You're going with Drew. All right.
And please end it after this. I'm done.
Please, all of us.
Put
All of
Jinder
us
in the
are.
main event scene and
You
just
guys don't know Vince McMahon, do you?
release Drew McIntyre, please.
All right. Bliss versus Marie.
I mean,
I'm
are
ready
you
for it.
even gonna ask
I'll
me
put it
that?
in already. Don't worry. It is Bliss. We know this. All right. Usos versus Mysterios.
I 100% agree with Jeremy. I think the Usos are winning. Actually, Dom is turning on Ray. It's coming.
Yes, we all agree on this one. Interesting.
Mm.
AJ versus RK Bros.
I agree. I think it's time to pull the trigger on this RK Bro thing and give it a month, and let's get AJ and Omos in a ring together alone.
Okay. Sheamus Priest.
I say retain. Sheamus
Okay.
to win. Yeah.
All right. Seth versus Edge.
I'm going to say Edge.
Edge.
Yeah.
Is he going to edge it?
Edge is no. I mean I don't think it edges. What I'm annoyed with is that this
Like-
match is going to go about half an hour long.
Sure. You're giving a lot of credit to Edge there for half an hour match.
And I don't want to see a half an hour Edge versus Seth Rollins match for nothing on the line. Like 5 minutes, Oakskin, and then we can be done.
Edge is the full time.
Sorry, Nash. This is Nash's
Yeah.
closet wet dream. He wants to see this Iron Man 1 hour match between the two of them for nothing on the line. Edge.
Listen, I would watch that. I would watch it.
Kyle's gonna get blocked mysteriously off the group tomorrow.
Listen, Carl. See, Carl, back in the 90s, right? They used to have these random hour-long Iron Man matches for the number one contender. That meant something back in the day, you know. A number one contender match was just as important as a world title match, and it's something they don't do in modern wrestling at all anymore.
Raw during promo time and like, I demand a title match because I want
Yeah. They actually earned it. Yeah.
Just show up and say that.
Yeah,
Guys,
Carl's
I'm watching the entrances and I'm fast
big
forwarding.
number one
15
title
minutes.
matches to watch.
Yeah.
All right, let's carry on. Women's Raw Championship.
Yeah, Nikki ASH is retaining this
All right.
championship. Yeah.
Banks Ballet.
I think Sasha Banks wins, but we get the return of Becky Lynch.
Ooh, okay. Roman Cena.
1, 2, 3, 17. John Cena's walking out your Universal Champion.
Okay.
No,
He might be alone on
walk
that
out.
one.
He's not gonna walk out.
Oh, he's
Universal.
blowing kisses and he's
He's
moving.
gonna run
Yeah.
out into the crowd.
I like that. Lashley Goldberg.
Bobby Lashley, but Big E cashes in.
Okay. Big E cashes. And Nashville. Let's run yours. Jinder McIntyre.
Obviously, I'm Indian. Jinder.
Bliss Marie.
Bliss by Voodoo. I'm gonna pull a Jeremy right here.
You see, Nash, you and me.
Okay. Usos versus the Mysterios.
Usos for the retain and Mysterios to break up.
Okay, so we're all going with Dominic turn. Looks just
We
okay.
have no faith in this team whatsoever.
AJ and Omar's taking on the RK Bros.
RK Bro for the win, man.
All right. Seth versus Edge.
Oof. This is my wet dream. This is a tough one. But I'm gonna base it off who's been good so far. Rollins.
All right. Sheamus Priest.
Priest for the win.
Okay. Raw Women's Match, triple threat.
Of course, Nikki Ash. I don't see the other two winning.
Okay. Banks versus Ballet.
Oh, this is obvious. Just for the love of her, I'm gonna go with Banks.
I put it in before you even answered that. Roman versus Cena.
Ooh, another tough one. But actually, I'm actually going to agree with Kyle over here. I see Cena actually getting the 17 title and facing Rollins at the next pay-per-view. That's my prediction right there.
Okay. Lashley versus Goldberg.
I mean, come on, Lashley. Goldberg needs to retire now.
All right. Let's give mine quickly with Jinder McIntyre. I'm going with Drew on this one, and somehow the sword is going to be involved in the outcome. Maybe Jinder gets impaled by it. I don't know. Hey?
So what you're saying is Jinder murders, or Jinder gets murdered.
McIntyre murders Jinder, I think. Yeah, I don't know. WWE, anything can happen.
Got killed, but he came.
Bliss versus Eva Marie. I'm saying Bliss wins with Dewdrop turning on Eva Marie. I think Dewdrop's going to turn on her, cost her the victory, and Bliss will pick it up. Maybe through voodoo. Maybe Bliss manipulates Dewdrop to change her mind. I don't know, but Dewdrop is turning on Eva Marie.
Dewdrop is
That's
Lily.
my...
I was
Forget
about
about Lily.
Dewdrop becomes Lily.
Dewdrop becomes Lily. There we go. All right. Moving on. Usos, Mysterios. I'm going with Usos, Dominic Turn. I've said this from Smackdown review already. I'm sticking with my guns on that one. AJ and Omos versus the RK Bros. I'm going to go with AJ and Omos on this one.
Cool.
I think they're going to retain. I think it's too soon for RK Bro. I think they're going to let it brew a little bit longer. That's my...
Did hear almost coming out to his own music, right?
Yes. I know I did, but
Okay.
I feel like at least another pay-per-view. All right. Sheamus Priest, no doubt about it. Priest is winning the US title. Simple as that. I think Miz is going to get involved in somehow because they keep pushing this Miz Priest rubbish, but Priest is winning 100%. Seth Rollins versus Edge. I've got to give it to the Messiah, the visionary. You know, it has to be Seth. I think Seth in the main event makes more sense than Edge in the main event we're at now. So that's why I go with Seth. Women's Raw match. I will go with Nikki Ash. I think it's the most obvious choice there. I don't see Charlotte or Rhea needing the belt at the moment. I think Nikki is probably going to be champion for a while. Banks, Ballet, Banks, only because I'm tired of Ballet. And like Kyle, I do think Becky Lynch will make a return at SummerSlam and challenge Banks for the title. Then Roman versus John Cena. I think Roman is going to win via a DQ caused by Finn Balor. And then I think we're going to get John Cena, Finn Balor at the next pay-per-view. That's my prediction on that one.
I forgot about Balor.
Yep, that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking Balor's going to come out. He's going to attack Cena because Cena took away his opportunity to face Roman Reigns. Going to get a bit angry at Cena, you know, or it might turn into a triple threat match at the next pay-per-view.
Or
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Baron Corbin even as well. Maybe a fatal four-way. Maybe they bring the fatal four-way pay-per-view back even.
Baron Corbin and his shirt try and cash in on the Raw Tag Team Champions.
And then Lashley, Goldberg, 100% Bobby Lashley. Although, like in my gut of gut, it's telling me Goldberg's probably going to win it. And it looks like they're trying to build up to maybe at Survivor Series have Cena versus Goldberg.
Guys, do you know when the next Super Showdown is? By
You
the
know,
way?
generation matches or whatever the case may be. But I'm sticking with my guns. I'm going to go Bobby Lashley on this one. Hopefully someone is thinking logically in WWE. I know what I just said. Okay.
Yeah. Guys, does anybody know when the next Super Showdown is? Seriously, when is it?
No, I don't think they're touring
Oh.
overseas just yet.
Yeah. If there's one good thing about COVID,
Yeah.
No,
it
Super
is the
Showdown.
fact that we haven't gotten any of those things yet. Okay. Anyway,
Yeah.
that's all the time we have for you guys on this major players. A big thanks to Nashville, Jeremy, and Kyle for all their input. Please, guys, if you haven't done so already, please keep subscribe and get yourselves notified by pressing on the bell. Please leave your comments down below. We want to hear from you guys. Oh, Jeremy, you kept cracking up, man. We want to hear from you guys in the comments. We love to listen to you guys and what you're talking about. So let's chat amongst ourselves in the comment section. And yeah, guys, please remember to always keep safe. And until the next major players chat, we'll see you guys again shortly. From Nash, Jeremy, and Kyle, and myself, your mother's favorite podcaster, Vaz. We'll check you guys again very shortly. Peace and chicken grease.